Hey, what's up everybody, Haskins here, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at a barn style that you can put together using free parts in the game. Now this is just using the rustic stuff as well as the log cabin. We'll also be getting into the brand new Anarchy Acres bundle, which I absolutely think is awesome, and we're gonna just see how these things stack up against each other, and I'm interested to know, let me know in the comments which barn style you actually like better. I also wanted to point out that 84% of you all tuning into my channel are not subscribed, so if you enjoy my videos and you want to see more from me like this, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. It definitely helps the channel. First up, let's take a look at this free to build barn here. Now again, I'm using rustic parts as well as the log cabin style. Now to get this thing started, all you really need to do is build out your foundation. I'm using the 16 by 16 by 2 wooden foundations, and this thing is going to be 7 of them deep and 5 of them wide. This gives a nice aesthetic for this barn overall, and I highly recommend starting with the foundation before you start to put up any walls. The only thing that you can do is put up walls if you want the ground to actually be grass and have that come through. That is definitely an option. So for the walls, it was actually quite simple to get these in. What I suggest doing is starting with your corners here. These are the log cabin corners. Get those down in all 4 corners and then just start to fill it in with these log cabin walls. You can intermittently place windows wherever you would please as well. And then for the height of this barn, it's 2 full walls stacked on top of each other. And then when I started the roof, I just filled in all of the gaps between the gables with the half wall pieces. So in the interior here, you can see I went absolutely bonkers on this stuff. So I hope you actually like some of the ideas here and use them in your barns. I put some beams running across the top. I've got some lantern lights hanging, so when it gets dark, you can see what the heck you're doing in here. And then the other cool feature of this barn is it has these little loft things up here, little balconies with spaces for your animal houses. So I thought this is a really cool idea of getting them inside a sheltered area, protect them from any bears that might come in. Now they do wander off and do their own thing, but I think the look of this overall is really nice. And then I've created these little stairways up here to where we have a second level balcony where you can put down some things like maybe some of your utility benches, crafting benches and whatnot. And you have enough room to decorate these out any way you would please. And then the last thing that I did on the interior was I built this fireplace. Now I do have to say these 2 little pieces here are from the Knights, Lion Knights bundle. So the only non-free to play parts that I did put in here. However, you can still create this with the free parts in the game. The only difference is you won't have these little tiny arches that are hanging off the concrete blocks there. One other cool feature to point out is you can see hayseed hanging out on the other side of this fireplace. So what I did was I made this open on the other end. So I plan on building out a nice little deck area here where we have this overhang to protect us from the rain. Now this isn't fully complete just yet, so don't worry. I'm gonna have this thing looking very nice in no time, but I thought that was a nice little addition to have the fireplace accessible from both sides. I'd like to mention too, I put some lights on the outside here to really brighten things up. This tends to get very dark at night and it's very hard to see what's going on. So I highly recommend putting some lantern lights or even some hanging lights around the exterior of your barn to illuminate it at night. It looks awesome with the moon and the stars. I absolutely love this build and this farm overall. 2 other things to point out is I did a chimney that runs all the way up through the top there, you can see. And then I have this little overhang area here for a workshop. You could do a whole lot with this space here. And I simply built that by just putting down additional foundation blocks to attach to my barn foundation. I put up some beams and some flooring. And then I did this overhang here, which is super easy to do by using the rustic floors and the rustic beams. So I highly recommend adding something like that to your barn. And last but not least, you can see I also did something right up top here, which gives it a lot more character. With an open concept like this, it looked really flat. So definitely dress it up with some windows and do a couple cool little flare ideas like that with these overhangs and stuff. And your barn's gonna look extremely cool. Now we've seen what you can do with free parts in the game. Let's get a closer look at this Anarchy Acres bundle that's in the shop right now for 800 V-Bucks. The first one up here is the Anarchy Barn Classic. So I have to say, this thing looks awesome. I think the red pops really well out in the grasslands. I love the roof pieces and how they gave us this new like slanted angled roof to really get a much better classic barn look. And honestly, everybody, these sliding doors are super cool. I think there's a lot of neat things that you can do with them. Now, moving on to the interior, I don't think it looks a lot different from some of the things you can do with free parts in the game. However, I do think they made things a little bit easier by giving you these archways. The floor looks very similar to the rustic floors with a little bit of a cream color mixed in, but I have to say overall, I really enjoy this prefab and I definitely plan on decking this one out. Next up, let's take a look at the Anarchy Loft Barn. Now, major differences to point out here is obviously this one has a little bump out, which is pretty neat. It has an open door versus the sliding doors over here, and it appears to be a slight bit taller. So let's take a look on the inside and see what's going on. It looks very similar to the first prefab. However, you do have this little bit of an additional space here, a couple extra windows that are actually wide open, and maybe a slight bit more open space here on the bottom, but it is divided up a little bit more than the other one. Now, as we make our way up top here, there's a lot of area for putting down things like villagers' beds, maybe some workshop items. So overall, I have to say this one is pretty cool. In my opinion, though, if I have to give it to one of these two prefabs, I'm definitely going to go with the first one just because of the fact that it has these really cool sliding doors. And I just like the classic look of this barn without the bump out. Now, this third one is called the Anarchy Barn Deluxe, which is the largest build of the three. Now, the thing that stands out the most to me right now is this has more of a just standard roof. Unlike the first two we looked at with the classic barn that's kind of rounded up at the top. Now, this does have a lot more doors on it. So this thing comes packed with two sets of sliding doors. And then you just got these standard ones as well. Now, the interior spacing on it is pretty large. You do have a decent amount of room to place some things down and work in here. I have to say, now that I'm in the interior here, it almost looks like they're all pretty close in size overall. I think the upstairs here is a little bit nicer because it's just more of an open floor plan overall. And then you have this little step out here where it's wide open at the top. And then you have an additional bump out here towards the back with some windows. Now, you can't interact with these windows, but that's just fine. They still look cool the way that they are. But yeah, I think this one is neat, but I don't really know. I guess if I had to say my favorite one of these three builds, call me crazy, I'm gonna go with the smallest one of the three. There's something about this just simple classic barn look without the bump outs or anything hanging off the edges that just looks really neat overall. Now, is it the most functional one of the three? Probably not. I would say you can definitely build some better stuff if you start to do some custom builds, which I intend on doing a video on here shortly once I get some time to start building with these pieces. But overall, I will say this. I think that the set itself is a very, very good value because not only do you actually get these three prefabs, it also comes with a handful of other pieces that you can use to decorate out your barns and things of that nature. So highly recommend, if you're able to get this set, I would say picking it up for 800 V-Bucks is definitely a good value. And if you do pick this up, you can support my channel further by using creator code Haskins in the item shop. So make sure you do that. I would really appreciate it. However, if you do not have the opportunity to get this set, I wanted to show you that don't worry, you can build epic buildings, even like this little woodshed using free parts in the game. It just takes a little bit of time and practice, and eventually you'll be able to build something awesome. Leave your thoughts in the comment. Which barn gets the W? Is it this custom log cabin barn, or is it one of the three prefabs that we just showcased in today's video? I hope you found value here today. If you did, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss a future video from me. This is Haskins signing off. I will catch you all in the next one.